On the 10th anniversary of the totally unjustified shooting of the very peaceful, definitely innocent Michael Brown, a group of mostly peaceful protesters assembled outside of the Ferguson police station to very peaceably destroy property and severely injure a police officer. Spokesman for the protesters, Mr. Race Bader, said, quote, "I hate when violence creeps into these assemblies. We just want to abolish the police, dismantle the United States system of government, imprison our opponents for thought crime, and establish a gulag for white people in the state of Montana. But when we're caught on camera doing these things, it's very upsetting because then it's harder to convince people we're the good guys." End quote. It's true. After burning down cities for an entire year, Black Lives Matter lost some favor with the American public. But if the corporate media can memory hole every terrible thing that Kamala Harris said and did prior to 3 weeks ago, then Black Lives Matter can still turn it around and be the same communist front group we all know and love. Or maybe not. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Okay, so today on the podcast, we are going to talk about this Black Lives Matter protest in St. Louis that resulted in an officer who is currently fighting for his life. We're going to talk about the Freedom to Vote Act, and we're going to talk about Kamala Harris stealing Donald Trump's ideas. Those are our three big topics for the day. But first, my favorite comment from last week. Our friend David said, quote, "Less than 90 days until Election Day, and we still don't have an official platform from the party that's supposed to save democracy," end quote. David, as only the Democrats can do, they do the Lord's work. They manage to save democracy by completely ignoring the votes of the people. It's a special ability only they possess. Only the Democrats can save democracy by completely taking the voters out of the equation. I've never seen it before, and really it's a credit to their party for the foresight to realize that the voters are really the only thing stopping democracy from working. Democracy works better when it's just a group of the elites who pick for the people. That's what the Democrats do. That makes it democratic. It's in the name. They're the Democrats, David. Don't you know? Don't you understand this? The Democrats can't be anti-democratic because they're named the Democrats. You'll get it. You'll get it one day. And David, you're a smart guy. I know you'll understand. But that's how they save democracy. You just take the voters out of the equation. It's hard to do, but they make it look easy. When Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama get Joe Biden alone in the chambers of the Senate like Julius Caesar and completely stab his campaign to death, it's to save democracy, like the Senate saved Rome from Caesar. I mean, it's the same thing. It basically is the same thing. Thank you for the comment. Now, on to the first topic. Now, here in St. Louis, it is a bigger deal, maybe, in St. Louis, though it was a nationwide thing 10 years ago. But it is the 10-year anniversary of the death of Michael Brown, who we kind of poked fun of in the intro. And this also coincides with the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement, which really started a downward spiral in our country of racial politics. You can look in, I think you could find data galore to back this up, but there was a feeling that we were getting towards a post-racial society following 2008. And following the election of Barack Obama, we really were on track to be not necessarily completely a post-racial society, a society where race did not matter, but we were at a spot in our history, and maybe the history of the world, where there was a nation, a multicultural nation, where race mattered the least that it has ever mattered. And with the death of Michael Brown, it started before this, but with the death of Michael Brown and the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement, it brought racial politics back to the forefront and has made racial relations in this country worse than it has been in my entire lifetime. I was born in the 90s, and my entire life, people my age, I'm now in my 30s, but people my age, they never cared about race. They didn't. When I was in high school, I went to a school that had a lot of white kids, a lot of black kids. I was friends with everybody. That's the way most people were. Most people who are my age, we never grew up in any sort of segregation. We never had we didn't experience any of this. You're born in the 80s, you're born in the 90s. You're one of these people who, if you're white, you grew up around black people. If you're black, you grew up around white people. And we're not perfect. The nation's not perfect. There's still historical wrongs that have led to the current problem in the U.S. But my generation really was as close to post-racial as you could imagine. I don't know a lot of people my age, not a lot of my friends who are white, and I am privy to the secret conversations among white people when they're by themselves. I don't have friends who are just casually racist that exist. And I've known a bunch of people from rural Illinois and the county in St. Louis and southern Missouri. I know a lot of people. I've met people who are racist. This is true. They tend to be older. They're older people. People my age, though, I don't see it. And it's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that I'm saying the levels were low. In 2014, with the death of Michael Brown and the birth of Black Lives Matter, it has sparked a racial backlash that it is completely counter to the goal of the Black Lives Matter movement, which was misguided from the jump. Black Lives Matter was based on a lie. I don't want to get into all the details of the Michael Brown case, but I'm going to summarize it really quickly by saying he was shot by a police officer, and then due to a bunch of lies that people told, it started a big movement called the Black Lives Matter movement. This hands up, don't shoot. Michael Brown was shot running away from a police officer on his knees with his hands up. This is total bullshit. It does not happen. It is a lie. They did 3 separate investigations into this shooting and found that Darren Wilson did nothing wrong. This is including, by the way, Barack Obama's Department of Justice, led by Eric Holder. We are not talking about partisan investigations. We are talking about independent investigations, federal investigations into this shooting that all found the same thing. 3 autopsies confirmed. First of all, he was shot in the front. Second of all, he attacked a police officer and tried to take his gun. And then he was shot. Okay, these are things that are facts that have been confirmed by numerous people. The hands up, don't shoot thing was a lie. It started protests, and it started a series of riots throughout the country that were terrible. And again, all they did, if the goal was saying that there's a problem in policing we need to address, okay, yeah, I'm all for any bad cops. If I know bad cops, if you know bad cops, you don't want them in the job. If I'm not saying I know bad cops, what I'm saying, if I did, I wouldn't want them in a job. And if they do something that's illegal, send them to jail. That's the opinion of everyone in the country. There is not a cabal of people who sit around saying cops should have impunity to do bad things and break crime. That people don't exist. Even police officers don't believe that. But that's not really what Black Lives Matter was about. It started off with this justification due to the Michael Brown thing. But Black Lives Matter was a socialist movement that wanted to completely dismantle the U.S. system of government. That was their explicit goal. It was not just about abolishing the police, which became a catchphrase. It was about bringing Marxist ideology under the cover of something that has a good name. Black Lives Matter is a good name because what are you going to disagree? Are you going to say Black lives don't matter? Are you some sort of bigot? Are you some sort of racist? How dare you? It's a great name. It's an ideologically loaded name because to disagree with it allows you to easily be criticized as a racist. But the whole movement was garbage. Not the people in the streets, although some of them were. The guys who committed violence, the guys who burned things, the people who broke into buildings and looted. These are garbage people. But the general people who are under the impression that Black Lives Matter was there to make things better for Black Americans, these are not bad people. They're misguided. And they were used by the people who ran the movement, who were using the name Black Lives Matter to foster in acceptance for socialist goals that they wanted to implement in the country. And I want to use the phrase, and this, I don't mean it in a bad way, but useful idiots. It's the people who are ignorant who show up to these protests and are being used to show, look, we have numbers, or we have this person who's going to help us, but they don't really understand what they're doing. And there were a lot of people like that because they were lied to about Michael Brown. They're lied to about lots of these shootings. I remember doing a big podcast breakdown of Breonna Taylor and people thinking that Breonna Taylor was some sort of terrible tragedy because the Klan showed up and broke a bunch of laws and did a bunch of things and basically kicked in her door and the police just shot her dead in her bed. None of this wound up being true, and there was a very complicated and unfortunate story that went along with it. But It's by taking each one of every shooting that happens and then saying they're all a tragedy. Well, they're not. They're not all a tragedy. Some people are going to get shot because they're doing bad things and they need to be shot. And when we treat all of them the same, it's ridiculous. There are tragic shootings that have happened, and there are bad shootings that have happened. I don't remember, but the cop recently, I can't remember where it was, who shot the woman in her kitchen. That just happened a couple weeks ago. Yeah, send that guy to jail. What a moron. What are we doing? The Tamir Rice, that was always a good example of a cop who showed up, who shot a 13-year-old kid because he had a toy gun. He didn't point it at him. It's on camera. You go, that's ridiculous. But then you take someone like Michael Brown or that guy, I can't remember his name, who was Jason Stockley shot and after his police chase. You take those two guys and you go, oh, look at them. They're the same as Tamir Rice. No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's when you are doing something bad, because the reality is that there are 200 black men who are killed a year by the police. That's it, 200. It sounds like a lot. It's not a lot. There are millions and millions and millions of police interactions every single day, and 200 people get killed a year. 1,000 people in total in the U.S. get killed a year by the police. 1,000 people in a country of 350 million people. Think about all the crime that happens, and only 1,000 people get killed by the police. Now, even if 1,000 of them were controversial, which they're not, that's not a lot. It's not a gigantic number. Meanwhile, the most common way that a black man ages 15 to 40 dies is by gunfire, 90% of which is committed by other black men, in a number that in just one city alone, in St. Louis, can number 200 in a single year. So we're not talking, the police are not the problem. Black Lives Matter was using that as an excuse to foster in some bad things. Anyway, I'm getting off. This is too much on Black Lives Matter. It's anti-cop, and it started riots in Ferguson, and then it also started riots in 2020. I'm not a fan, in case you can't tell. But let's jump to modern day. So the reason why we're talking about this today is that this is the 10-year anniversary of the Michael Brown thing. There were protests this week outside of the Ferguson police station. They were relatively peaceful at first. People held signs. They're doing a vigil. They're doing this and that. The police are inside the station. They allowed people to protest because that is their right. You have the right to peaceably assemble. Then they started shaking the fence. The police let them shake the fence. Then they tore down a section of fence. Okay, now you're committing property damage against taxpayer-funded property. You're tearing down a fence. So then the chief sends out an arrest team to say, the people who are destroying the fence, you go arrest them. And a 28-year-old man named Elijah Grant charged one of the police officers and I guess kind of shoulder tackled him. I didn't watch the video. I don't want to see the video. I read accounts. That's it. And I listened to the chief talk. But he basically shoulder tackled him and knocked him to the ground. The police officer struck his head. And then the Elijah Grant, the person who was later arrested, he went and then kicked two other police officers. So he was arrested, this 28-year-old, and he faces 5 charges, including resisting arrest, first-degree property damage, and 2 charges of fourth-degree assault. Now, the officer in question, his name is Travis Brown. He's 36 years old. He's black. Not that it should matter, but it's just to point out it's not like some racist white cop was out there, although there are people who will say that being a black man, there are people who say that black men who work for the police they'll say they're not really black, which is a ridiculous thing. But Travis Brown is 36. He's black. He is the son of a retired St. Louis city police officer, and he's the father of 2 young daughters. He joined the county. Get the hell down. What is wrong with you? Look at her. Winnie just jumping all around. Sit. So he joined the police right after graduating from college. He went to the St. Louis County Police Department in 2012, and he joined the Ferguson Police Force in January of this year. This is the kind of person that you want in your society. This is a guy, he went to college. He's got a young family. He is a police officer. He goes to work. By all accounts, he seems like a good police officer, at least from everything I've read. And what the hell is wrong with people? The people outside, by the way, who are protesting, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about your demonization of the police that leads to people like Travis Brown getting hurt? Because I remember when in 2014 there were those 5 cops in Dallas who got shot, or the police officers here in St. Louis that were hurt during the riots. What are we doing? You're going to tell me that the police are the problem. Then you are not paying attention. You don't know the numbers. What are you talking about? That the police are the issue. Travis Brown's not the issue. Travis Brown, no relation to Michael Brown, by the way. It's ridiculous to think that people like Travis Brown are the problem in the black community. The reason why the black community in St. Louis has problems, the reason why people in Ferguson have problems is because Travis Brown is on the job. That's what it is. It's because the Ferguson police are mean and nasty. It's not true. It's a lie. You've been told a lie. You've been fed a lie. The police in St. Louis do not shoot and kill people. They don't hunt them down like dogs. These are not real things that happen. There are, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but if I was going to venture a guess, 5 people a year, maybe in St. Louis, maybe not even that, who are shot and killed by the police. I would be shocked if it's more. And how many of them are just walking home from school with their book bag on their shoulder and a cop rolls up and says, "Freeze there, you little punk," and then shoots him dead? I don't think it's that many people. I think it's probably 0. Michael Brown wasn't that person. It was a lie to tell you he was. Michael Brown, the gentle giant who all he wanted in life was to graduate from high school, which is the picture that they show time and time again. Meanwhile, he just committed a strong-arm robbery prior to being shot, and he assaulted a police officer. But let's not talk about that. He's a gentle giant. Travis Brown's not the problem. People like Michael Brown are the problem. Michael Brown committed a crime. He stole from a convenience store, and then he grabs and pushes around a clerk. He robbed a store, which is why he was stopped by the police. Is that more of an issue, or is Travis Brown, father of 2, upstanding citizen in his community, is he the problem? Because I know what I think. What do you think? What do the people outside protesting the Ferguson police station think? Do they think, are you so dense that you think that the police are the problem in your neighborhood? The reason why Ferguson lags behind town and country is because the police in Ferguson are mean and nasty. If you honestly believe that, you are naive. I don't know what to tell you. You are a fool. You are not looking at the real data and the real facts on the ground. I don't know what to tell you. And it is a tragedy. This Travis Brown, now all the reports say he's been in critical condition. I heard, and this is not, I don't know this for a fact, it has just been told to me, that he might die from these injuries. He fell down, and when he fell down, he hit his head. He hit his head hard enough that he developed a brain bleed, and he could die from this. It is a distinct possibility that he will not be the same after this. So, is that what you want? The police are the issue. If you think the police are murderers, if you think the police are the bad guys, if the police are the modern-day Klan or the modern-day slave catchers, as they have been called by people in the past, why is it bad that one of them got hurt? That's a real question. Because I know what it did. I said this about when Donald Trump got shot. If Donald Trump is a Nazi, if Donald Trump really is Hitler, if you believe this, why is it a bad thing that he got shot? Why would it be a bad thing for Hitler to get shot? If you believe that the police are the bad guys, why is it a tragedy that Travis Brown is injured? I know why I think it is, because I don't think the police are the bad guys. But why is it you can stand outside the Ferguson police station and protest, and then you get to pretend that when the officer is hurt, that it's a bad thing? I don't know how these two things go to hand in hand. You're going to say to me that the police are the problem, and then a police officer is injured, and you say, "Oh, what a tragedy." Why? Oh, you don't want violence? Well, that's what the police are there to prevent. It's not the police committing violence in neighborhoods in Ferguson. It's not. Well, why don't we dive into the numbers of homicides in North St. Louis, and we see how many people were killed by the police compared to how many people were killed by other citizens. I think it'd be better if there were more police and less murderers on the street. That would be my opinion. But you think there should be less police, and what? Murders will just stop on their own? Oh, you got to fix the underlying problem. The underlying problem is you let murderers walk the street. That's the underlying problem. It's not that we're going to fix poverty and then people stop being violent. That's not the way it works. Poverty is actually not the cause of crime. Poverty might be the cause of low-level crime like larceny, but poverty is not the reason for violent crime. Poverty doesn't explain rape. Poverty doesn't explain murder. It doesn't. It's not the excuse. So you're not going to fix these things by just saying, oh, we got to get rid of the police. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't fix any problems. And Travis Brown is a casualty of the war on police that has happened for the last decades. 10 years since the birth of Black Lives Matter, 10 years since Michael Brown was killed, 10 years of a war on the police, a misguided war against the people who wake up every day, put on a bulletproof vest, and at least try to serve the community. Being a cop is a job I would never want. That is a job it just looks terrible. I think it would be a job I would enjoy, but the public doesn't like you because every time you interact with the public, it is almost always in a negative light. You're being called because someone's misbehaving, and you have to go and put a clamp down on a person. You're pulling someone over because they're breaking a law, and yet they think you're the asshole. The cops are, people don't love them. I feel like they used to, but they don't anymore. And especially in the last 10 years. Since all this stuff, and it became trendy and cool to hate on the police. ACOB, right? All cops are bastards. That's a thing that you will see people post. I remember when I was introduced to a friend of one of my old girlfriends, and the first thing she asked me, this friend who's about my age, said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm a firefighter." And she said, "Oh, well, that's great. I love firefighters. I hate cops, but I love firefighters." And I remember thinking, what a weird thing to be so comfortable just saying to another person. It's just so casual. I just met this person, and you say, I hate cops. Because that's a thing that people say. And it's a thing, a totally normal thing in society for people to just acknowledge. I just don't like the police. What's wrong with you? Do you not understand crime? Do you not understand violence? My guess is no, you do not, because violence is a natural human condition, and the police are there to guard us against it. That's all they do. That's their job. Their job is to protect us against violence. And to just be so easily acknowledge that you dislike them is just wild to me. Anyway, it's a tragedy, and we hope Travis Brown is going to be okay because, again, we need the police. We need these cops out there, and it's sad that people like Travis Brown are put in danger because of a misguided ideology that has led a lot of people astray, especially a lot of young people. I don't know. It's silly, and it's kind of a difficult one because I know a lot of police officers, and they're good people. They really are. On a whole, they're good people. They're just normal people like everyone else. They don't wake up to be Superman, but they found a job that they like, and it's a job in public service. And to hate on someone who's in a job of public service is a weird thing that I will never understand. Okay, we spent 20 minutes on that. So let's move on to the next. Let's talk about this, something that I heard Kamala Harris come out and talk about in the last week, which is the Freedom to Vote Act. Now, the Freedom to Vote Act is basically a list of Democratic things that they want from voting to what they would say shore up voting rights, but what I would say is cheat the system and do a bunch of bad things. One of my most controversial views, which I'm not kidding when I say this. People think it's a joke, but I am not joking when I say it. I believe less people should vote. I believe a lot less people should vote. I would be in favor of overturning parts of the 24th Amendment. The 24th Amendment was passed in 1964, and it is the one that stops you from having to pay a poll tax to vote. I'm for overturning this. I do not want a poll tax, but I want people to have to take a test to vote. You have to get a license to vote because you have to display a baseline level of competence, and you have to understand how government works before you can vote. I believe that firmly. Less people should vote. The idea that everyone should vote is asinine and ridiculous. We shouldn't all vote. I don't believe it. So this Freedom to Vote Act, in case you can't tell, I'm very against it. It's all for universal mail-in ballotings, which are a terrible idea, rife with fraud. It does have one good thing in there. The first thing it leads off with when you read articles is it wants to make Election Day a federal holiday. Fine. It's a good idea. I'm all for it. Make Election Day a federal holiday so everyone has the opportunity to vote and it makes it less complicated with their employment. That's fine. But let's go through all the bad things. And there's a lot. So we're going to just real quick hit these bullet points and say, no, stupid, bad. Automatic same-day voter registration. No, you should register in advance. If you can't take the time out of your day to register to vote, why are you voting at the last minute registering? It's just, again, a way to commit fraud by same-day registration is just full of problems. Minimum of 15 days of early voting. No early voting. That's my opinion. No early voting. You vote on Election Day or you don't vote. If you can't show up once every 2 or 4 years to vote, you don't get to vote. If you need to vote an absentee ballot, that's a different thing. But no early voting. It's dumb. It's called Election Day, not election month. Stupid, stupid, stupid. No excuse mail-in voting with ample access to ballot drop boxes. No ballot drop boxes. Get rid of them. Why do we need them? Why do you need to vote early? Go vote when you're supposed to vote on Election Day. No excuse mail-in voting. No. The only people who get ballots delivered to their house are people who request them and have a substantial reason that they can't vote. Either they are infirmed, in the hospital, in a nursing home, or possibly if they're in the military. If you're in the military, it's different already because they have a system in place for you to vote. But anyone else? No. With the exception of the military, with the exception of people who are infirmed in the hospital and cannot physically go to the polls, no mail-in voting. States need to accept a wide range of non-photographic identification. No. You have a federal ID, either a driver's license that has the Real ID approved on it or a CAT card if you are in the military or a passport. That's it. You don't need more ways of voting. Count eligible votes on provisional ballots cast in the wrong precinct. No, if you're not smart enough to vote at the correct precinct, you don't get to vote. This is my thing. You don't just get to make up your own rules. There's a precinct. You're assigned to it. If you cast a ballot in a different precinct, as far as I'm concerned, you're cheating in the election. Go where you're supposed to go. It's not that complicated. Restoring voting rights to formerly incarcerated people convicted of felonies. Okay, here's one I'm actually for. If you are in prison, you do not get to vote. That's my opinion. If you are out of prison, if you are on parole or you have felony in your past, it is ridiculous that we do not allow you to vote. I think there are good laws about felons. If you've committed a violent crime, if you are convicted of a felony, you, for example, forfeit the right to the Second Amendment. That's my opinion. You have demonstrated you cannot be trusted. That's fine. I don't mind that. But voting rights are different. I feel like if we really want to rehabilitate people, if we really want people back out on the streets contributing to society, you can't take their right to vote away. If they want to vote, if they could pass the test that I would impose, then let them vote. I'm for this one. I'm not going to bring up personal stories. Never mind. Impose stricter regulations on voter list maintenance that make it harder for states to remove eligible voters from the rolls. Again, this is a bad idea. My opinion is after every presidential election, all the voter rolls should be purged, and you should have to re-register to vote. Why? Because you wind up with people who are on the voter rolls who are dead or have moved, and there's not a good way to remove them. So every 4 years, I would do the exact opposite of this, which is purge the entire thing and send everyone a postcard and say it's time to re-register to vote in the January of the following year after an election. So it's not that complicated. Purge everybody. Make it even across the board. Nobody stays on the voter rolls. The voter rolls are completely blank every 4 years. I like that way better than not ever removing anyone. Stupid. More protection and resources to serve voters with disabilities and overseas military voters. Okay, I don't know what that means. It seems vague, so I always question it if it's vague. Could be bad, could be good, who knows. Federal protections and oversight for voting in U.S. territories, fine, yeah, whatever. Improve voter registration resources and outreach in addition to reauthorizing and strengthening the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. No. Why do we need to outreach? Do you not understand that voting occurs? Do you not understand that every 4 years we vote for a president, and every 2 years we vote for the House, and every 6 years we vote for the Senate? Do you not understand these things? I don't care. Why do we have to educate you on how to vote? Did you not make it through primary school? Did you not make it through grade school, high school? Did you not go to college? Do you not understand the U.S. system of government? Then you shouldn't be voting anyway. Prohibit partisan gerrymandering by requiring states to use certain criteria when drawing new congressional districts. Fine. If we could ever figure out a way to actually solve gerrymandering, I'm all for it. I'm always skeptical of the way that they go to do about it, because every time a Republican's in charge, they want to make it favor Republicans. Every time Democrats in charge, they want to make it favor Democrats. If there was actually a way to nonpartisan do this, make rules that make it so that it's taken out of the hands of partisan political companies, I'm fine. But even those nonpartisan governments are staffed by people who have preferences and bias. So I don't understand how we would do it, but I'm all for it if we could actually figure out a way. Require states to use voter verifiable paper ballots and conduct post-election audits. That's a good one. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. That's fine. Prohibit local election officials from being fired or removed without cause. I don't know if we need to do that. I think you should be able to fire whoever you want. If you're in the government, we have too many protections for people already. More people should be fired from their jobs for incompetence. Restate chain of custody requirements, protecting the integrity of ballots and election materials. A provision meant to combat unofficial partisan audits. Sounds good to me still. It's pretty good. Okay, something that's nice. Get rid of dark money. Fine. Yeah. Creates a federal obligation for campaigns to report instances of foreign interference, stricter enforcement of illegal coordination between single candidate PACs and campaigns, stronger enforcement of campaign finance regulation by the federal election commissions. Okay, yeah, these are all fine. I have no issues with any of these. But the other thing, Kamala has come out. This is the first, there are two things that Kamala has led with so far. So far, she has run a great campaign because she has committed to nothing. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant strategy because in 2020, if she had to hold the same opinions that she had in 2020 today, everyone would hate her. No one would want to vote for her because no one liked her opinions in 2020 except the farthest left progressives that you could possibly find. So she has actually, in the past month, run a brilliant campaign because she hasn't said anything of substance, nothing at all. And it's brilliant because if she doesn't commit to anything, you can't attack her on anything she said. And all she has to do is say, well, I said that 4 years ago. It's actually a very smart thing. It's the smartest thing she's ever done because it's the one thing that requires her not to talk. Because whenever she talks, she says stupid things because she's not a smart person. But whenever she doesn't talk, well, the ads can just run that show her waving her hand and show a color-coded group of people playing bocce ball. It says, oh, Kamala Harris gets it. And that's all she can run on that. And all she has to do whenever she does talk is read her little script and say Donald Trump is bad, threat to democracy, January 6th, blah, 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 and commit to and abortion, which is the only thing that she'll say. The first two things that she has come out in favor of, she said she's going to pass this Freedom to Vote Act, which is a garbage act that I just went through very quickly, but I went through all the reasons why it's stupid. And the other thing that she said is that she wants to steal Donald Trump's idea for not taxing tips. That was a big Trump running point. He said, we're not going to tax tips. And the first thing Kamala Harris came out and said, no, we're not going to tax tips. What is that? The first policy. I want to show you guys something. Let me show you something here. This is, This is what I'm talking about. When I say Kamala Harris is smart because you don't know what she wants to do because she doesn't know, because she has no convictions, she has no ideology. All she does is go where she feels like she can win. Right now she's mush, okay? All she is a porridge that is made to be eaten by the elderly without teeth. She is just a bowl of mush, and she cannot be defined because once you define her, you can attack her. And so she refuses to take shape. And here's what I mean. Check this out. So this is Donald Trump's website, donaldjtrump.com. This is presidential website. This is the homepage. Okay? You can scroll down. It's got some stuff here. It's got a bunch of things here. You can buy some stuff. Okay, great. Contribute. You can donate. You can shop. And then if you were looking at this in a full screen, these would be at the top. But it has these little things, these little boxes you can click. Platform, news, events, get involved. Okay? So the first one is the platform. So if you click on it, what does it say? Well, here is a bunch of points that Donald Trump wants to accomplish when he's in office. If he's President 47, here's the party platform. You can click on it right here. And here is Donald Trump's ideas. Okay? I'm not going to read them because we've done this before, but he's got these 20 bullet points. And then he has this little section at the bottom, which says, so here are the 20 bullet points that Donald Trump wants to accomplish in office. Then you click on this at the bottom, and it opens up this white paper. It's 16 pages long, and it defines everything that he wants to do. It says, here's how we're going to do it. Here's what we want to accomplish. Here's a little bit of information about everything that you just saw on the platform policy. So you can read about everything that Donald Trump wants to do. What does Kamala Harris's presidential website look like? Okay, so the first thing that pops up when you go there, KamalaHarris.com, is this little donate button. Fine. We close that. And then we're here. We got another donate button. It says, Harris Waltz, let's win. We go down. There's no information on the first page. We just can sign up for an email list. So we say, okay, well, what about this box? What about the menu box? Where can we go? We have Meet Kamala, Meet Tim, Take Action, Events, Store, Donate. Okay, well, we don't want to donate. We're not buying things. Here's the events. Take Action is how you volunteer. What does she believe in? Well, maybe it's on the Meet Kamala page. So let me click on Meet Kamala. And all this is, it's her biography. Here it is. But you know what it doesn't say in any of these paragraphs? No policy prescriptions at all. It says absolutely nothing about what she wants to do. Why would someone vote for this woman? You don't know. She won't commit to what she wants to do. Why would you vote for her? And if you don't know the answer, if you can't answer the question, I'll tell you why I want to vote for Donald Trump. I go here, I look at this, and I agree with most of this. Seal the border, deport this, end inflation, make America dominant by producing energy, tax cut for workers, defend the Constitution. I like all this stuff. I haven't actually, I don't remember all of it, but I'm pretty sure I like most of it at least. What does she believe? What does she want to do? She said, oh, I want to stop fracking. And then she said, no, I don't. I don't anymore. Well, why did it change? What changed your mind? Oh, you want Medicare for all, but no, now you don't. Okay, well, what changed your mind? What does it say here about your plan for health care? I don't know what it is. What is it? It doesn't say. It says that you fought to bring prescription drug costs down and cap the price of insulin at $35 a month, which is a lie. Donald Trump did that. But, oh, okay, well, you made a bunch of jobs. You invested $1 trillion in infrastructure. What are you going to do? You've been in office for 4 years. You've been the vice president, granted. But what are you going to do? Oh, are you just going to run by saying women want abortion? That's going to be your play? It might win you an election. It actually might. But why would people be dumb enough to vote for her? She's not committing to anything. She hasn't told you what she wants to do. She has no good ideas. The only good idea that she's come out with so far, she stole from Donald Trump's campaign. What are you voting for her for? If you can't name the accomplishment or the thing that she has said she wants to do, why are you voting for her? This is not a beauty pageant. This is not a contest about who you love more. This is a contest about where the country is going and what policies are best. I do not care about Donald Trump. I can't say this enough. I do not care about what Donald Trump, what he's like as a person, what he's done in his past, what he says, the words that come out of his mouth. What I care about are the policies he will enact. That's what matters. Why do you care about anything that Kamala Harris has said? She's not telling you what she wants to do. Why can you vote for her? You're going to vote for her because she's not Donald Trump? That's a stupid reason to vote for anyone. She has to do something, and you're voting for her for a bad reason. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the week. I'm getting a little amped up over here. I'm getting all angry talking about Michael Brown and Kamala Harris. Just get me all agitated. So we're going to leave it there for the week. As always, questions, comments, concerns, like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. And I will catch you guys next Friday.